It is so easy to take the comfortable way through life. It's really impressive how creative we become when there's work that we need to do. I didn't water my plants, didn't put the dishes away yet. Little things that we are able to come up with and invent that need to all of a sudden become done, even though we haven't done them in so long. The magic you're looking for is in the... Welcome back to the Dreamers and Misfits podcast, where my name is Benjamin Hofer. If this is your first time, welcome in. Glad to have you. And if this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. If this is not your first time, you're going to notice a little bit of a difference in the style that we are going to be talking about things today, specifically because of some of the feedback that I've received. And the amazing thing about this podcast that I'm excited about and I'm proud about is it is going to be a living and breathing thing where I'm going to be making adjustments and making tweaks as we see fit, and as I see that needs to happen, as things need to adjust. Maybe the content isn't getting across. Maybe it needs to be structured a little bit differently, and that is going to be evident today because we are going to be structuring this a little bit differently. I have had some feedback that, hey Ben, we need a little bit more structure. We need to follow your train of thought a little bit more. Hey, I get it. I understand that. So we are going to be structuring this one a little bit differently. So on this episode of the podcast, we are going to be talking about 4 different topics today. The first one, we're going to be talking about the magic that is in the work that you are avoiding. We are also going to be talking about the pursuit of the feeling rather than perfection, and that perfection erases humanity. The third one that we're going to talk about is actionable versus abstract goals. And finally, we're going to be talking about making an offer so good that people feel stupid leaving. So, buckle in. Let's have some fun. To start us off, we're going to be talking about a quote by Chris Williamson. If you don't know who Chris Williamson is, he is the host of the Modern Wisdom podcast, and he has coined himself as making a career off of being the dumbest person in the room, which I think is absolutely hilarious, and I think it is amazing because he just asks the right questions, and we need people like him talking to smarter professionals in different demographics and different areas of study, bringing real questions to these people so that the common person can understand what it is that they're doing, what it is that they're trying to achieve. And I believe that he's asking the right questions. I also believe that like being the dumbest person in the room does him a disservice in the way of he's brilliant. He's he's so smart, and being around those people, you can't not some of that can't not rub off on you. And it's been amazing to see his success. And me and my friend went to go see him. He was doing a live show. He wasn't even the headliner, and he has gained like almost 2.5 million subscribers since then. And it's been really, really exciting to see that. It's been exciting to see someone who shares similar beliefs, similar questions, and is just recording these conversations, putting them online, and he's doing amazing, and he's had great success. And it's really, really exciting to see someone like that who has similar dreams and aspirations doing so well. And it's this is a quote that from him that I think about regularly. And actually, right before recording this is something that has been haunting me for the past week or so. Maybe even longer than that, is this quote that's been rattling around in my head. And the quote is, the magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. The magic that you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding. It is so easy to not do difficult things. It is so easy to take the comfortable way through life. It is so easy to push off those things that have been sitting on your desk, to push away that book, to push away that podcast, to push away that new habit that you said you're going to start in January of 2024. It is so easy to push off all of these things. But the things that you're pushing off, that is where the magic is. And the things that you're avoiding is the thing that is going to make you better. The beginning of this podcast, I had 4 episodes pre-recorded, edited. I had all the content that I was going to post with it. I had everything ready to go before launch because I really wanted to ensure that I could launch with consistency, and ensure that I have enough out there so that people, if they saw one, they had a few different episodes that they could go back to. And since then, and since the content has then dried up, I've been avoiding sitting down and recording a new one. There's been a few different reasons why. The first one is because I get weird when I get behind a camera for some reason. It is insane what a piece of glass can do once it's right in front of your face. As soon as there's a lens in front of your face, apparently we all become stupid. We just don't act like ourselves. We just aren't. And this is why we like actors so much, because they're able to make life look natural behind a lens. And for some reason, we just become a different person when there's a camera on us. And I don't know what that is. I would love to talk to somebody who understands what that is. So there's that uncomfortability of being in front of a camera, even though I had been in front of a camera for a very, very long time. But in the past recent years, I've become very comfortable behind the camera. So being in front of the camera is something that is really weird. But then also, it is putting my money where my mouth is, because I am someone who has always said that I am constantly trying to get better. I am always trying to continuously work on myself to make sure that I can become a better version of myself for me, for my wife, for my kids, and that is something that I'm always trying to do. And the realistic part of sitting down and doing a podcast episode is I had 4 episodes out. I knew that I needed to record a new one because the deadline was coming up soon. And I also knew that I had a lot of comments. I asked a handful of people to give me really, really honest feedback, and to kind of tear it apart. And I was like, I'm not going to be offended. I just want to get better. So I need your honest opinion of what's going on. And through that process, I have gotten amazing feedback. I have some people that have been like, "Oh no, just keep doing what you're doing," which I appreciate. I appreciate that, but I'm like, I want to be better. But with wanting to be better means that I need to put the work in, and putting the work in really means that I need to sit down and truly work on what this is going to look like and what the next episode is going to look like. And that's partly why this episode is structured very differently, where there is a beginning, and there are 4 different segments of 4 different topics that I'm going to talk about, because one of the overwhelming things that I had was you need to have a little bit more structure on what you're talking about to ensure that people can follow through and kind of follow. And I appreciate that. And to be completely honest with you, the first 3-4 episodes, I kind of just sat down, pressed record, and just go, because I knew that there wasn't a version of myself that was going to be able to structure things well and get enough out to actually to launch this thing. But now that we're in it, now that I've committed to people, I'm like, okay, I have to sit down and I need to do this. And I know that episode 5 was going to be a grind, and it was something that I was constantly trying to sit down and to avoid. And honestly, right now, as I'm sitting down here and I'm recording this, I'm feeling a weight lifting off of myself, because I already feel better. I already feel better because I'm already achieving something that I knew that I needed to do. And I know that the magic is in the work that you are avoiding. But it's something that has been continuously happening in my life recently. And I think this is maybe something that is common with people that are trying to improve themselves, is they are understanding that the process, people say you need to fall in love with the process. And it's become a cheesy saying, but it's very, very true. Recently, a buddy and I, we were training for a 20-kilometer trail run, And in that, we had to do some really hard training. We had to really push ourselves. We had to do some intervals and some different types of training that we were doing. And we were doing some like hill runs and stuff like that. And then when we went, we actually tested out the trail before, and we were like, holy moly, this is crazy. Like, this is really, really hard. But we knew that we had to do this. We knew that we had to do it. So the week before, him, myself, and my brother, who were all running the race, we all went and we ran the course. And it was so hard. It was ridiculously hard. I got home and I was like, what the actual F did we do to ourselves? What did we sign up for? And why are we continuously doing this? And I actually said, I was like, hey guys, if we just don't show up, who's going to know? Like, who's going to know? And it was like a really, really hard thing to do. However, when it came to race day, it was amazing because during the race, we knew the course. I knew what was to come. I knew what was ahead of me. I knew that there was other things that were coming. And I pushed off running that course for like months because I was just like, oh yeah, I know I need to run it. And I never did. And then I did it the week before. And then all of a sudden there was a weight that was lifted off of me because I understood the course. I could see it in my head. I knew where the elevation was. I knew where the tough parts were going to be. I knew that the first little bit was going to be a grind, and then we were going to have a nice little flat spot, and then it was going to be a grind for the next 6 kilometers. But then after that, it was downhill from there, and it was good to go. But I knew the course in my mind, and I was like, man, the amount of weight that would have been lifted off of me if I had of just ran that course earlier and I didn't push it off. I wasted more time worrying about what this problem could have been than it actually took to just complete what was in front of me. There was an amazing relief that happened to me when I was running the race, because I was like, oh, the magic is in the work that you're avoiding. And it's hard. It's hard because you want to avoid it. It's really impressive how creative we become when there's work that we need to do and sit down and just do it. But we think, oh, I didn't water my plants yet. Oh, I didn't put the dishes away yet. Oh man, there's dirty diapers sitting on the top step. I need to do all of these things. Little things that we are able to come up with and invent that need to all of a sudden become done, even though we haven't done them in so long. I feel as though this is a common thing that most people deal with. It could also be a form of ADHD that is coming out in myself that I'm unaware of. However, at the end of the day, it's pretty crazy how this quote is unbelievably true, that the magic is in the work that you are avoiding. And basically, the way that I've started to deal with this is, the first thing is you need to like identify the work that is in front of you. You need to identify what it is that you're avoiding, because that's number one you have to do. Because if you don't even realize that there's work that you're trying to avoid, then you can't even begin. You can't even begin to tackle those things. But for most of us, I believe that there is things that we have said we were going to do, going to try to do, know that we need to do, and are constantly avoiding it. And then as soon as we identify it, I think that we can understand it. And then if you start to break it down, you need to identify what it is that you're avoiding, and you need to break it down into, okay, this is the one task that I'm able to do today, or this is the one thing that I can take a step forward to do it, or realizing maybe this isn't actually as hard as what you think it is, and you just need to complete it. The other thing that I've done recently is I've started to set timers for myself, And I'll be like, okay, I need to work on this hard, and I'm going to give myself 10 minutes. And I get as much as I possibly can done in that 10 minutes. Or, okay, and then like I start to segment my day sometimes in like 10, 15-minute increments. And I even have a timer on my desk that I will hit and be like, okay, I have 10 minutes to do this. Okay. And then I go for it and I go hard. The other thing is a visualization of what would life feel like if I had did this before. What would life like if this was completed and off my task list? How would I feel, and what would that look like for myself? I think that is a very real thing that we need to maybe realize more, as like, what would life look like if this was done, and how hard is it going to be to actually get these things done? And then finally, something else that's helped me throughout this whole process is truly finding accountability, finding somebody who is working on themselves as well. I have a good friend of mine who is doing something very similar to this. He's started a podcast, and he's trying to push his personal brand. And we talk weekly, sometimes daily, about different things that we need to push. And even right now, we're working on a challenge that we are challenging each other to put out as much content as we possibly can, to really, really push ourselves forward and to go forward. Finding accountability to that. Whatever it looks like. And it might be multiple people. Like one of my best friends, him and I, we are accountable to our running journey together. We are running a few races coming up, and we have created plans to run stupid distances. But we're accountable to each other because we both want better for each other. We both want better for our families, and we know that comes in doing hard work. So the magic that you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Embracing those uncomfortable tasks often means letting go of perfection. And this is why pursuing the feeling within the work rather than chasing perfection is what is going to reap more authentic and meaningful results. Casey Neistat, he is a YouTuber. He is the GOAT when it comes to vlogging. He was the OG when it comes to vlogging on YouTube. He created an entire genre. He taught us all how to be creators. He is the best and revered as like one of the best, if not the best, YouTuber that has ever existed. He, in my opinion, is the GOAT when it comes to YouTube. He is just a brilliant mind, brilliant creative. And he has done many other things, started media companies. He had an HBO series with his brother. He had many other things. But in a recent interview, he had a quote that said, "Perfection removes humanity. When something is truly perfect, there is no sign of a human hand in it." And that quote, I think, hit me harder in the last week than many other things that I heard. It hit me the hardest because as a creator, as someone who's trying to create content, someone who is trying to create a business, someone who is doing all of these things and trying to scale things and doing it in public, it's really, really easy to get caught up in this race for trying to create things that are perfect, trying to create things that are without flaw and that people see as, oh, wow, that is perfection, or that is something that is brilliant. And I think one of the greatest things that I truly believe that I think I have a talent for, and I'm really, really working hard on conveying that throughout everything that I do, is how to place a heart and a soul into something. And there are so many people that create things and create businesses that just have no heart. They have no soul. They have no character. They have nothing in it. And I love this quote specifically from Casey because if you know any of his videos, he lives in New York and he has this office studio that is so messy, but in the most beautiful way. It is like you can't replicate how many things are in his office, in his studio, and it is this beautiful mess of creativity, and everything is organized, but it's only organized to a system in which he would understand. He just does things, like he just like bare bones things, and he just grinds through things, and with that it just like gives things character. In this interview, he talks about this idea of that he's like, I could hire an animator to help me throughout a project or a video to illustrate a thought that I have, but he's like, or I could cut up, a bunch of paper and do it, and just kind of like roughly do it and try to stop motion it myself, and it's going to be more authentic. And I think this is a beautiful, beautiful depiction. And one of the most common places that I see this, and I feel like the world is coming to when it comes to having heart and soul in things that you do, is the idea of houses today and brand new builds are some of the most sterile looking places. You have white walls, you have white countertops, you have white cabinets, and everything is white. You have this gross ass Utah mom vibe that is, everything is white, everything needs to be clean and crisp and beige, and there is zero character in everything around. And there's this resurgence of people buying older homes and keeping them old and keeping the aesthetic of it. Even like my office here, the fact that this is an old thrifted lamp that I refurbished, and I was able to put a new LED bulb in that I can change colors in. This back one, and if you're listening, I apologize, but I'm pointing to some different things within my office. But in the back of my office here, I have this lattice with a vine that is going up it, and it's been crawling up it and growing as the vine. I have an old, this is an old cabinet that we found free on Facebook Marketplace, and I just sanded it down, but I kept it all original, and it has so much character, and like the glass is not perfect, and it's like textured. I have a bunch of plants everywhere. My office has character, even like this. You can't see this if you are obviously just listening. However, I have there you go. I have a elk image. It is a sketching of an elk, and it is old. I got it from Value Village, and I got it for like $3. But I just looked at it, and I was like, oh, that has character. When I was decorating my office, I was like, I want to feel like I walked in there, and I can walk in there with a whiskey and a cigar, and it feels like I'm home. That's the feeling in which I wanted to captivate, and this captivated that feeling. It's not perfect. You can see the hand marks. You can see that this was created by a person with a pen and a piece of paper, and there is this character, but there's this imperfection that is absolutely beautiful to it. And I don't hunt. I have never shot. I don't think I've actually even seen an elk in the wild. I may have. Maybe in Jasper I have. Or maybe in Banff, sorry. But that being said, there is this resurgence and this love that I feel as though that people have starting to fall in love with, is that people love imperfection. People do not like perfection. And I think as people that are trying to better themselves, people that are creating content, these things, we need to embrace the imperfections of the things that we're doing and let it breathe, and make sure that the things that we're creating still have our thumbprint on it and still have the things that we are creating. And I think to be a true artisan, to be a true artist, to be someone who is true to themselves, and to be the original design in which I believe that you were created to be, I think leaving those things in, leaving the quirks, leaving those things in to convey humanity is truly perfect. I have another a quote. There is this guy on Instagram. I forget his name. I want to say his handle is JB Copeland. I want to say. And basically he sits in front of a camera and he like helps people through mental health and stuff. And he just like has meaningful quotes and he sits down. He has this he has this beautiful office space that he's kind of in where it has a gallery wall and whatnot. And it's like, you can feel the video, you can feel the image, like it just has character to it, and it's not perfect. It's beautifully unperfect, and I think it describes his channel very, very perfectly. However, he posted this thing and it said, "Feeling is believing." And then someone else responded and said, "Dude, my feelings lie a lot." And he responded, he said, "Just to clarify, I don't think our feelings are liars, but they are signals." And I think this is important because I think we often are chasing perfectionism. We are often chasing things to be perfect. We're looking for the perfect conditions to try new things. We're looking for the perfect conditions to test things or to shake the boat or to make change in our life. And it's okay to be messy. It's okay to be messy. It's okay. It's important too. And I think the goal is not to chase perfection, but is to chase the feeling that we are having during the process of working toward the things that we want. Because I think Casey Neistat sums this up so perfectly, where he says, perfection removes humanity. When something is truly perfect, there is no sign of a human hand. And at the end of the day, we are constantly just humans trying to connect with other humans, trying to relate to other humans. So embrace the imperfection. Embrace your quirks. Embrace your humanity. We don't need more duplicates of other people's. We need more originals, and we need more artisans in this world. When we focus on the feeling rather than focusing on perfection, it enables us to take more actionable steps. It enables us to make more measurable goals. And this brings me to the next point of setting goals, and setting goals that we can control, setting goals that we are actually able to achieve. I have this idea that I've been messing around with, and it's this idea of the difference between an actionable goal and an abstract goal. This concept kind of came about with, I was talking with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, different goals that I have for the podcast, different goals that I have for Instagram, and I'm trying to scale and grow the things that I'm trying to grow. One of the goals that I had is to hit 10,000 followers on Instagram and to monetize the podcast by the end of the year. And as I began to create these goals, kind of start to hit milestones and these things, the milestones looked pretty abstract. The milestones were like, okay, so in order to hit 10,000 subscribers or 10,000 Instagram followers, I need to first hit 1,000 first, then I need to hit 5,000, then I need to hit 7,500. And it just kind of seemed like really easy to make these goals, but I'm like, how do I actually achieve these things? How do I actually achieve these types of goals? And I began to realize that I had no answer to and no pathway to actually achieve these things. And as I dove more into, I was like, I just don't understand. I don't understand the algorithm. I don't understand these things. I don't understand. And I was like, I just boiled it down to like a lack of understanding to like hit these goals. So therefore I need to learn more about the platforms and content and these things. And I just, as it came down to it, everybody who I was talking to, everybody that I was listening to, it was just like, do the work. Just do the work. Just do the work. And there's so many people that's like, I didn't know, or I didn't break through until I recorded my 800th podcast, or I didn't understand something until I wrote my 100th newsletter. And I'm like, okay, so, but like, how do I hit 10,000 followers? Or how do I monetize the podcast? And though I know the systems in which to do it, I realized that there's no goal that I could set that would make that an actionable goal. These goals and these numbers of maybe making $1 million a year, of hitting a certain amount of followers, of doing these things, there's no actionable plan that is actually in place. And I've realized that those are abstract goals. And in order to actually make something that is measurable and actually to make progress in anything that you're doing, you need to make actionable goals. And what is an actionable goal? An actionable goal is something that you actually have control over. I don't have control over how people are going to click on my profile. I don't have control over if someone is going to follow me. I don't have control over whether somebody's going to sit down and listen to a podcast. That is something that people need to decide to do, but I don't have control over that. Yes, there's marketing tactics and things like that you can do to persuade people or have better content and all of these things. But I actually don't have control if somebody does those things. But what I do have control over is sitting down and recording a podcast. What I do have control over is sitting down and writing a newsletter. What I do have control over is the everyday actions that I can take that are actually measurable to ensure that I'm going to get better at my craft. And then in turn, the abstract goals should come realistically. So this goes back to the idea of pursuing the feeling, that you need to be pursuing and enjoying the feeling during the process, and because it's going to make the goals way more meaningful and way more authentic and impactful, because you're enjoying the process to get there. And when you get there, it's not even going to be, you're not even really going to think about it. Be like, oh, wow, I got there. But you enjoyed the process so much that it almost came as a surprise to you. So this is something that I think it's a hard pill to swallow, because I think people who have large visions and large ideas, a lot of them want to happen overnight. And I understand that. I understand that feeling of wanting things just to happen overnight. However, the thing is it's not going to happen overnight. You need to put the work in. You need to do the things, and you need to put the miles in order for you to actually do it. I am running a backyard ultra marathon in March, and one of the things that my training program says is that you need to go back to back long runs. So halfway through, there's like a 20-kilometer run, and then the day after, there's like a 15-kilometer run. And the whole idea here is that you understand how to run on tired legs, so that you are running while you're tired, so that you know what that is going to feel like. And this is the exact same concept of doing things over and over and over and over again, because you need to know how to record a podcast, and you need to know how to do it back to back, and you need to know how to edit it quicker and how to edit it differently. And every time you edit it, you're going to learn something more, because there's just going to be the output is uncontrollable, but your inputs are the what you can control. So my thought is that if I were you and I were sitting down, I would sit down and I would make a list of the goals that you are wanting to achieve within the next year. And I'd sit down and I would go through them and be realistic with yourself. Be ruthless. Is this an actionable goal, or is this an abstract goal? And if it is an abstract goal, that's great. That's good. But understand that it's an abstract goal and that you have no control over it. And the only control that you will ever have over it is making actionable goals that are actually going to move the needle. Because thinking about more followers is not going to get you more. That there's no pathway to achieve abstract goals without actionable goals. Honestly, abstract goals, they shouldn't even be called goals, because they're just abstract ideologies because there's no path forward, and a goal is something that needs to be achievable, and there needs to be a path forward toward it. So I would set a list and realize what ones are actionable and what ones are not. And the ones that are actionable, make goals, make things that can actually move the needle, make metrics that you can actually measure, because those are the things that are going to move the needle, and those inputs are the things that are going to really make a big difference. One of the abstract goals that I have that I constantly think about and I want to be in my legacy is to be a better friend. That is an abstract goal that I have, and I'm like, how do I actually attain that? And that is a concept that I've been trying to break down and trying to understand. And I'm like, okay, how do I create actionable goals that can really make that abstract goal attainable? And there's a quote by Alex Hormozy, and Alex Hormozy is a business tycoon. He's a powerhouse. He is someone who really changed the game when it comes to business content. Alex Hormozy owned a company called Gym Launch. He sold it for $100 million, and then now owns a company called Acquisition.com with him and his wife. And basically they acquire companies and they buy companies and they help them scale even bigger to what they are. So he is done that while also becoming a content king, and has completely revolutionized the content game, specifically when it comes to business. And more so, he's really redefined of what a personal brand looks like. And if you know anything about business, have ever looked into business, you will see Alex Hormozy pop up left, right, and center in all of your content. But he has this saying in his book that is called 100 Million Offers. And basically this book outlines how you make an offer and how you make an offer as a business. And it's a really, really simple concept. And it is this idea of making an offer so good that people feel stupid saying no. And this is a brilliant way of doing it. Is if you're making an offer as a business, then making an offer that people feel stupid saying no to makes it inevitable that they're going to say yes to it. However, there was someone else who kind of challenged this idea. His name is Dan Bolton. He is on Instagram, and he's creating this little community around people who don't want to do a 9-to-5, but he's doing it in a very, very unique way. But Dan Bolton had this quote where he said, rather than creating an offer that is so good that people feel stupid saying no, create an offer that people feel so stupid leaving. And it's this idea of longevity, and it's this idea of creating something that people can't replace as a business in their business. And I think that is a brilliant way to look at it, but I also think it is a brilliant concept just for life. Because if I look at Alex Hormozy's version of creating an offer, I think this is why we get so many scam artists in the business world. This is how we get so many scammers, is because it's actually pretty easy to make an offer that people feel stupid saying no. And there's a lot of people that can create those offers, but it's the follow through. And are the people actually going to follow through? And there's a lot of people that don't follow through on the things that they say that they're going to offer, and why people felt stupid saying no, and they ended up saying yes. But then 6 months down the line, they're like, oh, well, this person is actually full of BS and couldn't actually fulfill their offer. But this idea that Dan Bolton has is making an offer so good that people feel stupid leaving is so different, because that means that you showed them an offer that was so good that they said yes to, but they can't live without it. They can't be without it, and their life would be lesser without that offer in it. And I think if you take this concept into a friendship, I think this is a brilliant way think about it, and these are the actionable things that you can actually do to become a better friend, to become a better spouse, to become a better person, to be. My goal recently has been to be the person who cares the most in somebody's life. And one of the most common things that people say in the Christian world when something's upset is they say, I'm praying for you. And often those are just words said and never anything that is followed up on. And I think the goal as a friend is to be so good of a friend that people would feel stupid leaving you. People would feel stupid of ever removing you from their life. That you've cared so much about them. That you've cared so much about their day-to-day that if they had an event that you showed up. If they had a hard week, you showed up. Jesse Eisler has this quote that says, no handwritten letter has ever gone unread. And I think that's a brilliant concept because it is this idea that someone took the love and care to handwrite you a letter, that there's no chance that that's going to go unread. There's no chance that that's going to go unread. And I think that is a beautiful testament of how can you care and be the most caring person in someone else's life. It's being so good that they would feel stupid leaving. I think this is a brilliant concept to bring into business. I think this is a brilliant concept to bring into life. I think this is a brilliant concept to bring into relationships. And when I think of these different types of goals, what is the actionable goal is how can I create things or do things that make lasting impressions on people that they would feel stupid leaving. They'd feel stupid leaving. And for me not being in their life. It's so easy to over-deliver. It's so easy to overpromise, but it's hard to over-deliver. But I think that's the goal, is to over-deliver on everything in your life. And to follow through on the things in which you said you're going to be consistent, to be solid, and to be a rock. And I want that to be something that is echoed in my life, in my friendships, in my family. And I actually heard this story of, it was Shia LaBeouf that was talking about being a dad. And he was like, what does it mean to be a dad? And it was to be the most sturdy, consistent thing in his kids' lives. And he shared this depiction of his daughter walking toward a park. And as she's getting more and more confidence to walk toward the park to go play by herself, there's this moment of hesitation that she has, and that she reaches back for her dad. And I think the best thing that you could possibly be for anybody in your life is for when they reach back, that you're the person there for them. No matter what it is, no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what is happening, that if there's somebody reaching back in their life looking for some sort of security or safety, that you could be that person. You could be the person that's standing there. And I think that's brilliant. And that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for supporting, for listening in. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'm excited for what is to come. I'm excited to see and hear what is to come for you. I'm excited to hear the stories that come out of this podcast. I'm excited to hear all of the things that are happening. Thank you again for just following with me in this journey. And one of my metrics for the success of this podcast isn't views, isn't subscribers, though. Please like and subscribe. It is to have conversations. That is the main metric that I'm measuring this with. And I have had an immense amount of conversations specifically about this podcast and some of the ideas that I've presented and some of the ideas that people haven't liked and have liked. And that's what I love, is I'm here to have conversations with people. I want to have conversations, and I want to create a space where it's safe to have conversations about opposing opinions and to have great things. So thank you so much for everything. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.